When comparing companies, people usually take a look at their return on assets or return on investment. And it should make sense, right? In the end, we want to know what a company is doing with their assets. Well, let me tell you something. That's wrong. And in this video, I show you why. Moreover, I show you the way pros use to calculate profitability and performance, and you should stay until the end because I got a surprise for you. Psst, something you can get for free. Hi guys, this is Chuck from the Assets Corner, and today we'll be taking a look at the best way on how to calculate profitability and performance of multiple companies, and that way decide which company fits better for us. This is super handy when you want to compare companies in the same sector like Coke and Pepsi or Lowe's and Home Depot. But first, why shouldn't you just take a look at the ROA? The ROA, or return on assets, which is called return on investments in the UK, it's a metric that calculates the return a company generates from an asset. The way to calculate it is by dividing the net income by the total assets in a period. So many people think it makes a lot of sense to compare two companies by this metric. And following that criterion, if we take a look at the ROA of Coke and compare it to the ROA of Pepsi, we should buy Coke over Pepsi, right? Well, that's not totally true. To demonstrate that, let's take a look at the formula and we see something interesting. If the assets for some reason increase, the ROA goes down. And you might think, okay, but the company should be buying something to make profit out of it. And yes, I'm with you, but what if the company decided to buy a lot of stuff in November because they were cheaper? Well, the ROA of that company at the end of the year will probably be low. So we shouldn't just take a look at the ROA or even the ROE of a company to compare multiple companies. If we use them, we may run into false positive. And today, I bring you a super nice method that pros use. It is called the DuPont Analysis, and if you use it, you will be making money instead of losing it. But before we go there, let me tell you who I am and what's the Assets Corner about. As I said in the beginning, I'm Chuck, and although I have a technical background, I have been investing for the past 10 years. Yeah, I started pretty young, and I have been achieving more than 10% in annual returns since then. And yes, that's including the crisis over the past 2 years, so 10% of annual return with the past 2 years is pretty amazing. I'm a product manager in an ERP company, and I'm also pursuing an MBA in a university in Munich. So I decided to start the Assets Corner to provide you with the assets you need to gain your financial freedom. I take you first to control your finances because you cannot get financial freedom if you keep wasting a lot of money. Then, as a second step, I show you how to invest so that all the money that you don't spend starts generating a passive income. And finally, I'll also show you how to go into the entrepreneurial world, either with a side hustle, passive income, or fully committed, so that you can really achieve financial freedom. And of course, there is a lot related to productivity to bring you from one position to the other. And that's why the Assets Corner, because you get all the assets you need to get your financial freedom. So if that's something interesting for you, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button and the notification buttons so that you can stay up to date. So with all that said, let's jump back to the video, and don't forget to stay until the end because I have this surprise for you in the end. So what's the DuPont analysis? The DuPont analysis, also known as the DuPont identity or DuPont model, is a financial analysis framework used to evaluate the performance and profitability of a company. It breaks down the return on equity, ROE, into its constituent parts to provide a more detailed understanding of the factors driving a company's profitability. Bear with me, it's actually easier than it sounds. The DuPont analysis consists of 3 components. Profit margin, which is the component that measures the company's ability to generate profits from its sales. The assets turnover, which is the component that assesses the efficiency with which a company utilizes its assets to generate revenue. And finally, the financial leverage. This component evaluates the financial structure of a company and the use of debt to finance its operations. As you can see, we have 3 kind of categories that cover most of the performance and profitability of companies. So breaking down that DuPont analysis, you have a real overview of how the company is actually doing, which is way better than just taking a look at the ROA or ROE. Now, how do we calculate everything? It is actually pretty easy. First, the profit margin is the net income divided by the total revenue. The assets turnover is the total revenue divided by the average of total assets. The financial leverage is the average total assets that we just calculate to the average shareholder equity, which is similar to the way that we calculate the average total assets, but we do it with the shareholder equity. And finally, the DuPont formula, which is a kind of ROE is the profit margin times the assets turnover times the financial leverage. In the case of the ROA, we saw that Coke was performing better than Pepsi, but let's see what happens when we use the DuPont analysis. I already have the data for Coke and Pepsi, and I got it from morningstar.com, which is for free. So let's go step by step. First, we have the net income and the total revenue for both companies for the year 2022. Easy. Then the average total assets and the average total equity is the average between the total assets and the total equity respectively, but between the years 2021 and 2022. Then the profit margin, assets turnover, and financial leverage is calculated as said before. And what do we see? Well, although the numbers might seem pretty similar, for example, the net income or the total assets, but Pepsi has actually a better performance and profitability than Coke, even if the ROA from Coke is better than the one from Pepsi. But wait a moment, if you made it until the end, I told you that I have a surprise for you. So if you go to my website, theassetscorner.com, in the Add to the Assets tab, you'll be able to copy the spreadsheets for free that calculates the DuPont analysis for you. The only thing you have to do is to get the numbers from morningstar.com, as we did in the video, and replace the blue numbers. The rest will be calculated automatically so that you don't have to do it manually every time. And if you have multiple companies, you can just duplicate the columns and then compare the DuPont ROE, which is called that way, and then just find out which company is performing better. And again, just change the blue numbers. In accounting, blue means that you put the number there manually. Just take those numbers from morningstar.com or from wherever you want, like Yahoo Finance or Google Finance or whatever, and just change those blue numbers and the rest will be calculated automatically. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I will come back to you. Thanks for watching, and as I always say, never give up and keep trying to be the best version of yourself. Check out.